That all being said, let's end tonight's show with the last review for the night, and that is for the movie The Sting, starring Paul Newman and
Robert Redford.
Robert Redford. That's right.
I love this movie. I just this to me is the coup de grace of heist films.
Perhaps it is, and it's, a lot of people, they might not think it is, but it is, and and I think there, okay, we'll just talk about it, but first let me just.
From when I was because I watched this a lot as a kid, and I loved it. Watching it now as an adult, like, holy shit, this movie's really dark. It's a very dark movie.
It's a really dark movie. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up more with like the TV version.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Because like there was like things that like I didn't know were part of this movie, and it's like, how did I not know or see this before? But yeah, just probably just because it was like the watered down, like edited TV version. But like being able to see it, uncut in in its original theatrical form was definitely great, and it definitely enhanced why I love the movie all the more.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let me just give a quick synopsis, and then we'll get this review started. Following the murder of a mutual friend, aspiring conman Johnny Hooker teams up with old pro Henry Gondorf to take revenge on the ruthless crime boss responsible, Doyle Lonigan. Hooker and Gondorf set about implementing an elaborate scheme, one so crafty that Lonigan won't even know he's been swindled. As their big con unfolds, however, things don't go according to plan, requiring some last-minute improvisation by the undaunted duo.
Oh, actually, and here's another way that these movie, our two movies are a little bit connected, and it goes back to King of the Hill, because the Sting, King of the Hill did a parody episode of the Sting, kind of doing the same thing. So it's kind of a little bit of a tie-in on both of these connected to King of the Hill.
Right. I know, tonight, I mean, usually we have a Simpsons reference, but tonight I guess it's a King of the Hill reference.
Yeah. It's very rare. It's very rare I get to do a King of the Hill reference. But
right. And I love that cartoon. It was a really good show.
That one is, that was one of the things. I did not watch it a lot when it was on, but I watched it after like it was off the air, and it's like it is so much better than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good.
Yeah. So yeah, here's the thing: is like because I've watched this movie probably like 2 or 3 times since we were talking about doing the review of it, and yeah, like the whole like beginning part of the film, like where he's working with that Johnny Hooker is working with his friend, what's his name?
Luther.
And then like essentially, they ended up unknowingly stole from a mobster, and that mobster being Doyle Lonigan, and Luther ends up getting murdered, and they're trying to find the other people that were in on it, like so Johnny and all that stuff. It's like I forgot that whole part, like, and it may have been because of the TV edited version, like we just kind of either didn't get that part or like we just forgot it. But yeah, I was like, man, I don't remember this part of the movie at all. And that was, it was kind of dark because it was like because Luther essentially, like they pulled that con, and it's like, oh, this is enough money. It was like Luther was done. He was out. Like he was getting ready to just kind of live the rest of his life, and he was killed. And um, Johnny, I think he liked just conning people, and it was like he found grifting was something that he enjoyed, kind of like how Tanner liked robbing banks, and he was he'd blow money. Another connection to these movies, it's like I like it's like he would blow money just for the excuse to go rob banks, or in this case Johnny liked to go grifting again because it was fun to him. So, uh, but now that like Luther, who was like his mentor, his best friend, and he's killed, so it's like I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna get this Lonigan guy, and he meets up with Luther's friend Henry Gondorf, played by Paul Newman, and they set up kind of like this big con and set at Doyle Lonigan, and that's kind of like where all the fun of the movie starts.
Yeah. Um, I love the different. I love the transitions and how it basically told you like the part of the con that they were doing. Like from this,
Right,
the hook
the trap
the
and
trap, and
the
I thought it was
sting.
great. Wait, what was that?
Yeah, it was like it was the hook, the trap, the sting. It was kind of like they had it would kind of like cut it up into different acts.
Yeah, yeah, the thing, yeah, the acts, like the parts of uh, the confidence game were, acted as the acts of a play, or in this case, the movie. And so, yeah, there's like the setup, the hook, the trap, and the sting, and I thought that was really great, and I loved how how like the plan was coming to fruition, and it was it was all like working out, but then there was like the seeming complication of like the FBI agents. Um,
Right. Well, because you had that one cop who was trying to find Johnny Hooker for giving him counterfeit money because I think he was kind of a crooked cop.
right, he was a cop on the take.
Right, and so he was pissed off because he had Johnny passed off counterfeit money to him
Mm-hmm.
and was trying to like to find him, and so you had that complication. You had because Doyle Lonigan didn't know what Johnny Hooker looked like,
Right.
and so you had essentially him. He was dodging Lonigan from the assassins that were put on him, yet also trying to con Lonigan in this thing. So there was this constant like kind of back and forth, and so Johnny was always trying to like was kind of trying to avoid all that, and it's um and I don't think and initially he didn't give all the information to Henry Gondorf. It's like you need to tell me all this stuff so that we can plan for it,
Mm-hmm.
because he's one of those guys like he's kind of like you could compare um, Gondorf and Hooker to like how Toby and Tanner were in Hell or High Water, where it's like one of them was very smart, very kind of always planning ahead, whereas
Mm-hmm.
like Johnny Hooker is more of like in a way the hothead of the group.
Right. And although it's interesting because even though in Hell or High Water, Toby, Chris Pine's character, was the younger brother, but he was the more mature one.
Right.
Um, as opposed to in The Sting, where Paul Newman's character Henry Gondorf, was like the older seasoned con man, and Robert Redford's Johnny Hooker was the young up and comer.
So yeah, you had and then but yeah, like you have. I'm trying to think of like what other um the one of my favorite scenes was it was in the hook, and they're trying to get uh Lonigan's attention, and it starts off in the train car, playing poker, and it's like how he was faking, Paul Newman was faking being Gondorf was faking being drunk, but then like he kept always intentionally mispronouncing his name to piss him
Yeah.
off. And he was a known cheat in cards, and but Gondorf was a much better cheater. He was really good at sleight of hand, and he and it's like, how the hell did this guy beat me at cheating? And it's like they also like made it so like that they stole Lonigan's wallet beforehand. So
Right,
like,
it's kind of like a test to that was like a test to see like if if you'd actually miss it, and then also to see like how how like streetwise he really was in a way. But they're able to steal it, and he's none the wiser.
Right, but it sets it up where it's like at the end of the game where it's like he gets beat and he's so pissed, like fine, I'll and he's like, oh, I must have left my wallet in my. It's like, like what the hell kind of game is this? Like it's like this is a gentleman's game. You're supposed to pay up on your bets, and so
Right,
it's
and
like
he flashes the cash that he stole from Lonigan.
Yeah. Hey, it's like using the money that you stole, to like
exactly. Just like in Hell or High Water, when they they launder the money through in Hell or High Water, they launder the money through a casino, and then they give the check from the casino to the bank, and it's like, oh yeah, here's the money that we owe you. It's like, if it is your money.
Right, yeah. It's like, man, these movies are a lot more connected than I realized.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that was like one of those great scenes. And then the whole like kind of fake setup that they had for the horse racing thing, and then Hooker was having when they were trying to lure Lonigan in, and he was he was attempting to try to test the waters and not just like kind of just dive right in all the way, right away. And he's like, well, I want to meet your partner that's in on this, because he had so you had, what was that character's name? I just know him as like he played in the Golden Girls later on. It's like
yeah, Kid Twist.
Yeah, Kid Twist. Thank you.
I knew you were a Golden Girls. Ben was right. You are a Golden Girls fan.
No, I looked it up. That's how I know.
Sure, buddy. Sure.
How do I know? How else would I know that his name was Miles in the Golden Girls? He dated Rose.
Because you love it. You secretly love it. Admit
it. I admit nothing. So anyways, Kid Twist is like they had to like think on the fly and kind of like, oh, my office is being painted, so let's meet in another location.
Right.
And
kind of like because like the whole because the story that they give Lonigan is that Johnny Hooker has this contact at Western Union, and that's where all the horse racing results come in, and then they send it out to all the bookies. But the scam was that the contact at Western Union would hold back the results of the race for Henry Gondorf's characters, and so Hooker was then able to get Lonigan to put a bet before the results were put out, and then they were able to cash in.
Yeah, so it's but like that whole scenario was kind of like that trying to lure Lonigan in. It was really like you're on the tip of your toes, like, man, is it gonna work? And and you also have to remember, this movie is set in the late 30s, so
Depression era Chicago.
So like a lot of this stuff wouldn't necessarily obviously like work today,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of how it's run is much
Right, and
different. So you have to,
information and technology is different. So.
but but yeah, like for that era, it's like, oh, this is kind of like, this is happening a lot, and it's quite ingenious.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, oh man, like you have this one guy who, like, it's you're throwing him a bunch of money, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll just delay the results, and then you give us who the winners are, and we'll bet like a certain amount, and we'll all make money. Um,
Exactly.
but let's see. What was another scene that was really good from the film?
Well, I
Well, there
just
was this
want.
whole like. Oh, I'm saying. What were you saying?
Oh no. Well, I was gonna say like what was my not well I wouldn't how to say favorite scene, but really interesting scene was the twist of who the second killer was.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was a huge twist. I when I first saw, I was like, oh, I did not expect that at all.
Right. Yeah. Because especially because they kind of did this like misdirection where they initially talk when they have like the initial meeting and then I think Kid Twist or JJ gives like the pictures of the supposed hitman that's after Johnny, and one of the pictures turns out to be accurate, but the other one isn't because the picture is of two different men.
Right.
But the twist is the other hitman turns out to be a hit woman in that this kind of like love interest they set up for Johnny and the waitress at the diner near his hotel room.
Right. Yeah, that was a huge twist. I didn't because it's always setting you up for like thinking it's someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's another like you don't really necessarily see the faces for a little while, but you see like them like kind of getting ready to for an assassination,
Mm-hmm.
and after the tryst with Hooker and then the assassin, he wakes up and like she's gone, all her stuff is gone, and it's like, oh, okay, and but he obviously has to get ready for the sting, and when he's walking through the alley, he all of a sudden sees her. It's like, oh hey, and kind of like, and
Yeah, like, this is
there's
yeah.
another
Let's
guy
go.
who,
Yeah. This is like the scene where like let's go run away together now. But then you see like this other gentleman
who we
that
think is the
right.
actual
He kind of
assassin.
they kind of set him up to be the other hitman, but this other guy ends up killing that woman, and and it wasn't just like shot to the chest or whatever. It was like they right pretty much like right between the
Right to the
eyes.
head.
And then he goes to go to see if she was all right, and then you see that she had a gun as well, and so you're
It's
like,
like, she was gonna
what?
kill you, kid.
Yeah, and then so
Yeah.
like the other guy comes around and it's like, hey man, it's like, oh man, good thing I got to you because she was about to kill you. She was the other hitman that Lonigan had hired to kill you. So it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting twist in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, and also
yeah,
not the last twist.
no, and not the last twist either. Because the other thing that's kind of set up, so you have obviously you have the detective from Joliet that is trying to get the Hooker,
Mm-hmm.
and he obviously Hooker's been dodging him quite a bit, and the FBI comes to meet this detective and kind of like, listen, we're going after Gondorf. We know he's active again, all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you got to get to Hooker, who we know can get us Gondorf,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and so finally that detective catches up to Hooker and like kind of brings him in, and so the thing is, your thing is like, he's like, you think that they got him. And it's like, all right, well, like, listen, you give us Gondorf, and that's it. Yeah, we'll let you go because you're not the who we're after.
You're small. You're the little fish. We want the big fish.
And he's like, okay, well, I'll do that, but like, let me, the guy that we're after, that we're trying to get revenge on, is a bad guy. It's Lonigan. We want to get him. Once
Mm-hmm.
it's done, you do your thing. That's fine.
Right.
Um, and I was like, and it's all right. So you have like this thing that's like, man, he's kind of like betraying, you know, Gondorf, and it's like there's all this stuff that's being balanced. Like, man, like I don't know, like he's betraying, his partner, uh, and kind of dodging the assassin. He's got all this going on, and come to the final scene where like Lonigan ended up, uh, what they did is like they found like a certain race, and the way that they talk to him, it's like, oh yeah, put your money on this other horse, and so he puts a, like, 500 grand, which is a hell of a lot of money back in 36.
Mm-hmm.
um he it's like, put it on that horse to win, and the guy, Kid Twist comes in, and it's like, it's like, oh, Lonigan's like bragging. It's like, oh yeah, I put 500 grand on that, for that horse to win. It's like, to win? I said to place. So he's gonna finish second. It's like, but by then it's like he's already, like, the race
Yeah, you already
is,
put in the bet.
finished. Yeah, and that's when the FBI breaks in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, all right, everyone, kind of hands up, all that stuff, and you have, um, once they get to Gondorf, they arrest him, or kind of hold him down. And it's like, all right, kid, you're free to go. And Gondorf shoots him in the back, shoots Hooker in the back,
Right, which then
and then,
proceeds the FBI agents to shoot Gondorf.
right, and it's like, and they, the detective, the one that was after, the one that's on the take,
Yeah, Snyder.
rushes Lonigan out. It's like, come on, let's get out of here, and they kind of, they're, because they both just don't want to be anywhere near there.
Right, because
And
Lonigan has like this public persona as someone who's pulled himself up out of the gutter by his own bootstraps, and made a living, is respectable, and and is a banker, and so it's like he can't
right,
be in a place like with dead bodies,
exactly,
let
he
alone
hates,
not let alone a gambling parlor.
right,
And so
and
like
so,
they get so they rush it. So like yeah, so the cop rushes them out, and then as soon as they're gone, it's like it gives like the all clear sign, and you see that it was just like like a squib, and was it Johnny swallowed like a blood capsule to make it look like you were shot.
right, and the whole FBI thing was just another setup by Gondorf to
Mm-hmm.
make it, like, kind of, to get the detective off their backs,
Right,
and
and
to,
also like to help him to get Lonigan like out of there as well, so he wouldn't like think of
yeah, it was to sell everything, and kind of, get them their victory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, it's satisfying, because this guy who killed all, because everyone in that room was friends with Luther, like they all loved Luther,
Right.
and they all wanted a piece of this guy for what they did to Luther.
Mm-hmm.
And killing this guy wouldn't have really done anything, because, like, it's like he's kind of in a business where, death is, it's an inevitability.
Mm-hmm.
So you attack the thing that he cares about most, his money. And where, like, the guy, he killed them, like they were saying, it's like, wow, he killed Luther over something that's like not even like, it's like, like $5. That's how much money means to this guy. So you
Right.
attack him where it hurts, and that's his money. And so it really is kind of like this satisfying end to everything.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a great movie. Uh, really well done, well acted. Um, but also just kind of the term that we coined here on this show, cinematic archaeology. When you watch movies, they kind of get um, when you they kind of when you're trying to express like like I know you, or we both know the same thing. The signal that people usually gave it was stroking of their nose.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if this is, and I don't want to say that this was, I don't know if this was, but this was like the first movie that I saw where it could have been the origination point.
That's what I was thinking about that myself too. It's like, is this the movie like where like this came from, or was this like something that was already like around
Yeah, well,
that
already a
people used
thing.
and like yeah,
But like
um,
just thinking about it, like I don't because I mean not that I've watched an extensive amount of old movies, but I've never seen that particular gesture done before. And
right,
and it seems like this movie would be, I mean, because this movie was made in like in the 70s, in the early 70s, and
right.
so it looks like it could be like the origination point. I don't know. If you do
I don't
know out there, then let us know. But
yeah. But I thought that was something I caught on to as well.
Mhm.
That I was thinking, that might I think this may be where it came from, but I don't know.
Right, because I mean,
Um,
especially because like if you're if it's like one of those like kind of scam heist kind of things, and you're trying to communicate with like team members, it's that'd kind of be the way. And I mean, up until again, I haven't watched a lot of old timey movies, but I haven't, even in like the ones where they're trying to do like pull off some sort of a scheme, I've never seen, uh, that particular gesture in any other movie.
Yeah, because I even like because I watched another one that we didn't do a review on, but like called the Killing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like and that's kind of set like an older film like set back in like the set in like the 50s, and yeah, there was nothing like that. So it's kind of I think this might be something this movie ended up creating this that gesture.
Right, because like apps, I mean, going forward from the Sting, now whenever like there's like where TV shows or movies they try to do like a Sting homage or something, there's always that kind of like the signal, and it's usually
Right?
like
Yeah.
the swiping of the side of one's nose, kind of like how they did in the Sting, and it's particularly at the end where Johnny's walking out and he sees one of the con men that volunteered to take down Lonigan, and he gives like the signal, the to Johnny, and then Johnny returns the signal to him. So
Right. But yeah, it's the other thing about the music in the soundtrack for this film is great too. It's a lot of this ragtime music, and
right,
this like I said, it was the Entertainer, which is
yeah,
I
the
think
main
was
theme of the movie is the entertainer.
right, which is by Scott Joplin. I think that's
Something like
I
that. I
might be
mean,
wrong
any
with his
like,
name.
and for those of you who don't know, like if you grew up in a time where ice cream men were a thing, then the song because
Yeah. Oh,
when
it's
you
like
because when you
every
heard the
time I
song, the ice cream man was new.
yeah, every time I hear the song, I think of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there was a lot of this, kind of like ragtime music that was, done, I think by this guy, where they used music from him, and it
Yeah,
actually
you're right, Scott
repopularized.
Joplin, and yeah, from 1902.
Right? Yeah, they ended up. Well, they used a lot of his music in this film,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of brought back, repopularized him as a
Mm-hmm.
composer after this movie came out, and it just it fits the time period. It's just it's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the by, I was looking through the cast of the movie, and Luther's name is Robert Earl Jones, and he's the father of of actor James Earl Jones.
Really?
Yeah,
I knew the names were similar. I did not realize that they were related.
right. I didn't. When I saw the actor's name, it's like Robert Earl Jones. I was like, huh. So I clicked on it. I clicked on his IMDb and his Wikipedia, and it's like, yeah, father of James Earl Jones.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, neither did I. But then, because in the movie, because it was done in the early '70s, he's a lot older.
Right.
But online they have like an a younger picture of himself, and he does look like James Earl.
That's fascinating. I'm learning that for the first time. I had no idea that was his James Earl Jones's father.
Surprise!
Yeah. But yeah, man, this is one of those movies that you have to go see. It's a classic.
Right, and I
I could
think
probably watch this movie 100 more times and I won't get tired of it.
yeah, I mean, I think, and I dare say that the modern remake of what is it? Ocean's 11. I think borrowed a lot of elements from The Sting. If you think
Oh,
about it,
absolutely. Yeah,
if you think
absolutely.
about it, like the whole like how they put in twists and how basically like the structure that they use, the setup, the trap, the sting, and all that stuff. It's
Yeah,
in here, and it's in Ocean's 11. And
like you said, this is how I was saying, this is the coup de grace of heist films,
mm-hmm,
and because of that, like it's you have the people who do the parodies of it, you have the people that are taking elements away from it for their own heist films,
mm-hmm,
and like I said, this is the one, and it wasn't the first, but I think it's the best.
right. Agreed. Couldn't agree with you more.
I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, is there anything else that like you want to say about the film, or do you have any other like scenes or thoughts that you liked?
Um, well, I do like the ending where when they're after Lonigan has been rushed out of there and it's been revealed that was the sting was the sting was successful, and they're tearing down everything, and was it Gondorf who was talking with Johnny. Is like, hey, are you gonna stay for your cut? And and Johnny says, no, I'm just probably gonna, he refuses his cut of the money and says, I'll probably just blow it anyways. And then he and Gondor both like walk out of there, and then they kind of end on like kind of like a closing zoom of them. It's just like as they're walking down the alleyway, and you can tell that they're just they're on their way to their next con.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
I absolutely love that.
I think it was like a way of like saying it's like because uh you know because Johnny Hooker liked drifting and he liked kind of he was more in it, like the money was just kind of like a secondary thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he liked the thrill of doing what he was doing. And he found essentially another Luther that was a mentor to him, that was
Mm-hmm.
his friend. And Gondorf, who like when he is first met by Hooker, is kind of, he's kind of given it up, like he's kind of washed up. And I think meeting, hearing about what happened to Luther and meeting Johnny Hooker, it reinvigorated him to this lifestyle. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like now it's kind of they're a great pairing together.
Right.
Um,
I'm also my take on it was that his refusal of the cut of the money that they got from Lonigan was not just kind of like um, kind of paying respect to Luthor, but to signal that he's kind of matured, and it's like
Right.
is and to like really and for the audience to understand that for him this isn't for him, like him grifting isn't you know again, like you were saying, not it wasn't just about the money. It was about the thrill of doing it and getting away with it. So my takeaway was that he's matured. He was doing this thing for his friend, um, and he recognizes that him having the money would just lead for him to like blow it again.
Right. Right.
And so recognizing that is like the first step like for his maturity. So like so the next job that does come along, then you know uh, he'll do it for the thrill, but then he won't necessarily blow his money.
Right. So yeah, it was. Like I said, this is an exciting must-watch film.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's give this our rating, and let's wrap this bitch up.
All right. This to me is a 5-star for me. This is like I said, this is the best heist film. It not only has been parodied a bunch of times, but a lot of other heist films have taken elements away from it. So it's the best one out there. I've watched this many times, and I still love it. It's a must watch. 5 stars.
All right. I think in an unprecedented move, I'm gonna also give this a 5-star rating.
Yeah, like I said, it has good soundtrack, good pacing, good acting, and like I said, there's several twists within the film that you don't see coming, and it's great, man.
Right? Yeah. I mean, again, this the concept of the heist film isn't necessarily new, but I think The Sting does it to perfection. And
Absolutely.
and then from that point on is the standard for like all other heist films.
Yeah, definitely. It set a very high bar that I don't really think that anyone has touched since.
True. Yeah. So there you have it. That's our review for The Sting. Both Robert and I give it a 5-star rating. Do yourself a favor and watch this movie because it is great. Just don't just think because it's an old timey movie, from an old, about an old timey time, that it's gonna be because this movie was made in the 70s. Even I think like the set direction and the art direction was great, and it actually like made you feel like you're watching. It was like a portal into watching Depression era characters or people.
Right. That's the other thing is like the set design and everything. It's like, man, I really felt like I was in the 30s. Like
Right, exactly. You kind
the
of
sound.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. You forget that this movie was made in the 70s. This movie was depicting something that happened like 40
40
years
years prior.
prior, but you feel like that it's happening, that it was happening at the time. So I think and I think that's what lends that's what lends to my 5-star rating of this movie, because you're transported to that time, even though this movie was made 30 years prior to the time being depicted.
Right.
So yes, that's the a review of The Sting. Go watch it. It's a good one. We promise.